Welcome back, everybody, to an episode of, I was going to say the ABL review, but that's not, I guess it's the ABL draft review, right? That's what we're talking about. We got the Season 23 South draft. Okay, so I didn't prepare anything for this. We're just going to dive in together and figure out what we think of these teams. Well, what I think of these teams, and I will tell you, and you can feel free to adopt those opinions if you like. A couple of notes from just like a macro view of the draft, and some of this is true for the North as well. But I will say we have got to have a record number of 1-point Pokemon taken. Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 1-point Pokemon taken in the South. That's got to be a record. The other thing I'd like to note is this. We got cap space, right? We got cap space. I don't like it. I don't approve of it. There's no reason. And look, if you kept it, not a big deal by any means. I just think it doesn't make any sense to have kept cap space because drop it, like let's say, for example, Keenan. Let's say he's going to drop Dodrio and pick up a 6-point Pokemon. Let's just let's look at a random 6-point Pokemon. Will cost 6 points. Gonna pick up Ludicolo. He decides he wants Ludicolo on his team. He's gonna drop Dodrio to get it. Sure, he can do that. But also, if he had just picked up a 1-point Pokemon, like Lombre. I'm pretty sure Lombre is a 1-point Pokemon. I'd be shocked if it wasn't. If he had just done that, then dropping Dodrio and Lombre to pick up Ludicolo is also only one transaction. So there's never any harm to using up your cap space on anything, really. So I would recommend doing that. Tyler, he has already planned to make a transaction, so maybe he's just saving those 3 points for that. And also he's got a bye week, so he kind of can sit on that a little bit and react. So it's a little bit different situation. But also, there's no harm in just going ahead and picking up all the Pokemon you need. So we're picking up enough Pokemon to cover your cap space. They got to go out there and get contracts and get paid. So, they should do that. Anyways, that's a rant out of the way. Let's hop into our first team here. We got the Minnesota Zang and the Minnesota Typhlosions. So, we're going to be doing what we've done the past couple seasons. We're just going to kind of take a look at all these roles down here at the bottom. And then take a look at these type matchups and just kind of take a look at any points that we think are, positives or negatives for this team. So, first thing we always look at is hazard control. Great variety of hazard setters. Four different defoggers who I think can all run defog pretty regularly, and a rapid spinner in Terapagos. We're going to talk about Terapagos probably in both videos here. So yeah, I think that from that standpoint, very good. Obviously, I think he'd like to, having sticky webs is also a benefit, especially considering like his team's not super fast. Terapagos being like low kicks, its speed almost doesn't matter because it runs so much priority. Zebstrika is not going to be a big offensive powerhouse, so if you had webs up, you could afford to run Modest or Adamant a little bit more often. Maybe that could be beneficial, but Sneasler doesn't really need web support. But all these other mons, I'm sure wouldn't mind having it, especially Ice Cube. So, status, lots of Toxic users. Toxic users kind of come at a premium lately, so I think that's pretty good. Only one Will-O-Wisp user, a couple Thunder Wavers, not a huge deal, but that's a nice thing. But check out this Switch initiative here. You got 5 Pokemon with U-Turn, 1 with Volt Switch, these 2 with Flip Turn. But if Ice Cube ever runs Flip Turn, Zen should go to jail. And these 2 guys have Baton Pass. We just had a conversation with this about this with another coach. I don't put a lot of stake in Baton Pass. It's definitely nice to have, I guess, but it's also like I don't see it as a big plus in my opinion. So, yeah, there's that. A couple of good knock offers. Taunt to shut down some stall. Should it arise? Dual screens. Nothing that no one Pokemon that runs any dual screens. I think not having a Wish Pokemon is kind of unfortunate, but I think we've seen a shift in the metagame away from passing wishes, because passing wishes is hard to do, kind of unreliable, because I feel like it's easy to read that that's what's gonna happen, and it's too easy to block a wish pass. In terms of priority, I'm discounting Quick Attack on Pokemon that aren't normal type, typically. So this priority, like Quick Attack priority, whatever. Fake Out, kind of nice, but I don't think that's going to come into play too often with Sneasler. First impression on low kicks, it hits hard. This is going to be a good thing for him. I think he's going to enjoy that. Aqua Jet will come into play occasionally. These vacuum waivers, not really. Maybe a little bit on Hisui and Braviary. But Shadow Sneak, Sucker Punch, those will come up for sure. Not the strongest set of priority mons here. I think the only stab priority move on this team is from Low Kicks and Hisui and Quillfish. That is obviously discounting the idea that anybody would terrestrialize, which probably will at some point, right? Probably see something, we could see something Terra and get that boost. So that's those roles. I think he's got some of the really important ones, but I would say the place he's lacking is in strong priority options. And since he doesn't have sticky webs, and taking a look at his speed tiers, not super top heavy. So we'll kind of keep an eye on how the rest of the league is speed wise as we make those assessments. So another thing we look for is speed gaps. So right here we have a, what is this, 24-point speed gap from Zebstrika to Low Kicks. That could be a little bit of a problem. I can't think of any. There's probably some Pokemon in the 115 gap that are going to be able to run Adamant against this team, like 115 to 110. You want to try to avoid gaps of 15 or more, particularly when you're above like the 80 range. So a little bit of a gap there. And I do think that'll probably be exploited against him, because also people aren't going to be planning for Zebstrika that much, because it's not very good. And by the way, it's not a knock against Zeng's team as a whole. It's just Zebstrika not being very good. It's just that's a fact of the matter. It's like it's got the benefits that it has is it's got 2 separate immunities, only 1 weakness. Terra will allow it to work around those things a little bit. It's just unfortunately pretty frail and not very strong. It's just not a very good Pokemon. Okay, so let's look at type matchups. So obviously we have a little bit of a fire weakness. The only resist being Quillfish does actually worry me now that I'm looking at it. Like Hisui and Goodra is going to be able to take a lot of heat. You know, pun intended. Yeah, it's going to be able to take some hits on from fire. Like that's actually his fire resist, is his Pokemon that's neutral to fire. I do think that is going to be a problem for him, because like you want to have options of things to switch on fire, because also those things are going to get burned occasionally, just from like flamethrowers and fire blasts and, you know, fire punches even. Flare Blitz burns too. So I think that's a problem. Looking real good on the water resist front. That's great. Not too bad on electric. Grass, super covered. He's got literally no grass weaknesses, and he's got 5 resists and 2 immunities. That's really funny. Ice, neutral. It's really hard to kind of stay neutral on ice. It's just, it's the way it is. Let's focus more on these reds. Actually, no, let's look at ground. Ground's a super important one. Immunity, resist, 4 weaknesses. That I don't think I love. That feels like, I feel like you want this square to be green for ground. I think that one's more important than that's a pretty important one. Flying, actually, wow, quite a big flying weakness too. 2 resists in Hisui and Goodra and Zebstrika. Zebstrika likely won't come to a lot of games, and even if it does, taking a lot of hits from flying. Gudra already is going to have a big amount of hits it's going to have to take. Something Zing's going to have to watch out for. Psychic, I don't put a lot of stock in. I don't care that this is red. I'm not even looking into it because not a big deal. Rock. Okay, so Rock, this square being red's interesting because past couple seasons, I feel like we've talked about it. Rock doesn't tend to be too big of an attacking type. So if you have good hazard control, that square being red doesn't matter so much. So, if we get another red square on Rock, if we get another AO18 red, then we're going to start looking and seeing how threatening that is in the league. The resists being Sneasler, doesn't want to take a lot of hits. Hisuian Gudra, already a big role player. Hisuian Decidueye is a decent rock resist because it also gets recovery. So that's not too bad. A lot of weaknesses, obviously. He's going to have to watch out for it, but we'll see how he does. Looking at the team as a whole, Terapagos, and I'll definitely talk about this when I do the North too. I don't know how I feel about it. Like, it's got decent stats, right? Like, 85 speed, 95 attack, 105 special attack. Pretty good. Good flat out good defenses. 95, 110, 110. Those are good. And its ability is like multi-scale but better. So I think this is like, and it's got fantastic coverage. Calm Mind, Rapid Spin. Those are great. The biggest issues I see with it are I don't think you can reliably run a setup set. Very difficult to do so because the setup that you're doing, you're probably doing like Calm Mind's your only setup move. You don't have any recovery because you probably want to be heavy duty boots so that way you can keep your Terra shell intact. So that means you don't even have leftovers. I've seen Chesto Berry sets and leftovers and like rest Calm Mind 2 attacks or rest Sleep Talk Calm Mind 1 attack. Those are options too. But I just feel like this Pokemon's best set, like that it contribute the most with, is going to be Terra Starstorm, whatever 2 coverage moves you think you need that week, and Rapid Spin. By that logic, we probably overpriced this Pokemon significantly. But we have 2 people in both the North and the South who are kind of going to, I think, push Terapagos and see what they can do with it. So that should be interesting. But a good amount of physical attackers. That average attack stat being at 102, pretty darn good. Special attack, his best special attacker is Hisuian Braviary, which isn't bad. Terapagos, which I've said my piece about. Hisuian Gudra, Hisuian Gudra I think is probably on an 8-game contract this year. I think it's gonna have to come to all 8 games. It's just got so much heavy lifting it has to do on this team. Hisuian Gudra is going to be stapled number 1 on all of Zeng's team building. I think it's just going to have to be. But outside of those guys, only one of which is I think a reliable setup Pokemon in Hisuian Braviary. All the other ones, he's really lacking on the special attack side. So that's another thing I kind of want to keep track of, seeing how people are doing on the special defense side of things. Because average of 77 with a high of 112, not very strong for special attackers. But this team has flaws, but I'm not looking at this team being like, ooh, this is going to really struggle. So not too worried about it. Moving on. We've got the Chicago Cub Chews and Zane. Okay, so first thing I've noticed right away is we got another AO18 red. So I'm just gonna just preview here. Doesn't have one there. Has one there. Okay, let's do the work. Let's put in the work. Let's head over to the draft board and look for offensive rock type Pokemon to see if it's an issue. Right? Got 1, 2, 3. No here. No here. None here. You guys can't see all the way over on that screen, but that's fine. None here. None here. And you can't see Connor's team, but there's also no offensive rock type Pokemon on that team. So The actually only offensive rock-type Pokemon are on these first 3 teams right here in Leavor, Ogerpon C, and Lycanroc Day. Could be something people want to like consider. I would not consider trying to patch up a rock weakness because that is a much harder job. But if a rock weakness tends to be a pattern here in the South, maybe consider picking up a rock-type Pokemon, an offensive rock-type Pokemon. There's still some good ones out there. Okay, back to Zane. So let's look at the rolls. Ooh, only 1 Rapid Spinner. That is, I think that's an issue. It's a good mon. It's a good Rapid Spinner. I do think that it puts a lot of pressure on him, and I think the fact that, what the fuck is this music? This is insane. Okay, we're going to the next song on here because I can't listen to that old Chateau music anymore. Sorry. Okay. Rapid Spin having to be stapled onto Iron Treads most weeks, I think is going to be a challenge for him. You got some decent Stealth Rockers. You have a decent Spiker. Sticky Webs you have as an option. That's great. I love that. Toxic Thunderwave Will-O-Wisp, good hazard spreading. We haven't seen a Spore user here in the South, but also that's by no means a requirement, right? Pivoting. Got pretty good pivoting. All these Pokemon, I think, benefit from having a U-turn or Volt Switch on it. That's good. Baton Pass, like I said, I got my feelings on that. Parting Shot. I think Petrarant's a pretty underrated mon. It's going to be able to easily run Parting Shot a lot of weeks and give a lot of support to this team. So, I think that's great. Support stuff, got Knockoff, Taunt, you got a Wish Passer, that's great. Got 2 dual screeners that you can run here. I think, yeah, solid support. Pretty good pivoting. Status, I don't put a lot of stock in, but decent hazards. Hazard control is a little bit of a challenge. Looking over at the priority, not a lot of priority. Okay, let's talk about the bonsai tree in the room. Bonsley is on this team. So, Zane has a lot riding on this, as does another coach that we'll discuss. But Zane has said if he doesn't... this is Zane. Okay. I keep mixing up him and Drew by mistake, so sorry about that. Zane has said that if he doesn't get a KO with Bonsley, he has to draft Mono Bug next time. That should be pretty interesting to see how that transpires. So a little bit of pressure on him here to get Bonsley a KO. But overall, looking at this team from a macro view, I think that a lot of good bulk, couple of scary attackers. Again, not a lot of not very scary special attackers. His special attacking core is actually weaker than Zane's was, and I didn't think it was very good. So his big special attackers are Pecharunt, Rotom, and Clefable. I mean, and I guess Regice, but like that's not very scary. Should be something to keep an eye on. Let's look at water. He's got, so this says an immunity. It's not really an immunity. It's really just a resist, but it's still there. Roaring Moon's obviously a good immunity, or resist rather. Bonsley, I'm mostly ignoring on this line here because come on, Bonsley's not going to factor in too much. So that's not great on the waterfront, but I don't think that's a big deal. Electric, he's got covered quite well. Only the one weakness in Araquanid. Ice, he's actually got the resist. Fighting. Fighting is another type that I would definitely make sure that I have resists worked into. Because fighting is a pretty common type that most people are going to have on their teams. Sure, he's got the Bonsley weakness, but he also has Regice, Iron Treads, Ogerpon, Roaring Moon. That's a problem. He's got one of the most reliable fairy types in Clefable, and Araquanid can take some hits, but obviously no recovery outside of Leech Life. Could be a challenging thing to switch in, like, if, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I don't want to... I think me and Logan influenced a lot of people's drafts quite a bit on the stream, so I'm going to try not to like suggest changes to teams because I don't think that is you know, keeping good spirit of what we should be doing. But I think that there's a fighting type I would consider picking up in this league, just based on what I've seen so far. Ground. Only 1 resist, 1 immunity. I think that's kind of exploitable. I think that could be a problem. Most ground types are going to get rock coverage. And granted, I know rock's not a super scary offensive type, but Zane doesn't switch in too well to rock types, and the Pokemon that do switch in to rock types don't switch in well to ground types. So Edgequake coverage against this team is going to really pressure him. Something he's going to have to work around. Not undoable by any means, but just got to work around it. That's all that I'm seeing. In terms of setup mons, obviously you got Roaring Moon, Ogerpon, very scary offensively. Paldean Tauros, I'm interested to see what he can do because we had Paldean Tauros, Paldean Tauros Aqua. He had a couple seasons ago that did very well, enough so that we had to Terra ban it, and this time he's got I believe Paldean Tauros is allowed to Terastallize. Let me double check. It is. Actually, all Pokemon on his team that are within the point value can Terastallize. I didn't really pay attention to this on Zeng's team. Obviously, assuming Braviary can't. Yeah, he's got good Terra options. He can mix and match a bit. So that's good for him. I think most of the time it's going to be Decidueye plus Quillfish, and then just swap in Zebstrika or Ice-Q. Over here, you're going to be Araquanid, Tauros, and Bonsly, or Araquanid, Bonsly, or Araquanid, Regice. Yeah, he can mix and match a little bit, but Araquanid's going to be very important to that crew. I don't think there's anything else I really need to draw attention to there. I didn't mean to go. We'll go to that in a second. Overall, pretty good. I'm seeing a distinct lack of special attackers here. I don't think, based on this so far, short sample size, I don't think we're going to see a lot of Salt Vest users here in the south. Is this too loud? That could be too loud. Oh boy, I'm not gonna stop the recording. I'm just gonna turn this down. I'm just realizing my voice talking. Oh no, it's not. It's different. It's significantly different. We're good. I am gonna turn it down a little bit. That looks good. Okay. Thank you for bearing with me. Okay, so yeah, I think the team looks solid. I have my concerns about special attackers, but I think that's not a. I think he's got the good type coverage to be able to do what he needs to do. Right. So next we've got Tyler. Ooh, I just see all these green lines here on Tyler, so that looks great. I love that. Big solid green line. That's just a nice start here. Let's look at the hazard control. Ooh. Only having a defogger brings up a problem that we haven't gotten to discuss so far, because he's got good hazard setters. Like, it's going to be easy for him to get hazards up, but the problem is if he's facing hazards with this team, which I'm going to focus on in another second here, his only way of getting rid of hazards is defog, so that means he has to get rid of his own hazard, so that's a problem. A lot of status spreading, not a lot of Volt Switch. Like, you got a good Volt Switcher in Raikou, good Flip Turn in Primarina. Probably not going to see a ton of Parting Shot on Revavroom. I think that could be a weakness of this team. No Knockoff. That's very interesting. And no Wish. That's going to be a challenge. There's definitely holes in this team that I think there's going to be struggles, right? Not super relevant priority, very relevant, not relevant, not relevant, pretty relevant. Okay, so decent priority, stuff that you're going to be able to bring most weeks, so that's good. Oh, you know what? I didn't check speed tiers on Zane's team. Let me see. Honestly, no bad gapping. Pretty good. There's that note there. Let's look at speed tiers here. Covered really well. Honestly, pretty fast team overall. Like, the fact that you only have 3 Pokemon below 80, pretty solid. I think he's going to be able to put a lot of pressure on people that way, just with his speed. And he's got decent defense to back it up. Looking at these stats, no numbers that stand out to me as being really bad. Got a couple of good special attackers here, a couple of good physical attackers. Yeah, I don't think he's not gonna be in a bad shape. So stat wise, looking good. Roll wise, couple holes being the pivoting. No knockoff and wish are kind of big. Only having defog, not so strong. The limited priority options I can give way to because the speed tier is quite good. Types, ground type, he's got 2 immunities. So what is that? Wheezing and Altaria, and he's got a resistance Sceptile, barely resist, but a lot of weaknesses with Goldengo, Reverum, Blaze, Lycanroc, Raikou. That's a big one. That ground weakness is a struggle. I don't think I think that's going to be a big struggle. That's going to be a big target painted on his back. Zero Ghost resists with 1 weakness from Goldengo. If I had Goldengo, I probably would have found a dark type to back me up. I definitely would have done that. So that I think is going to be. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. I think Crocodile is in the league, and I don't think. I don't think this team's gonna like facing that. I guess that's not a ghost, but you get my point. That's gonna be a challenging matchup for him. Anyways, like obviously the better example would have been like the big guy Golurk. Like Golurk versus this team looks real strong, but it's so slow, so it's also not a big deal. I don't know. I'm rambling now. Tyler has some large flaws in this team that he needs to overcome. I think there are definitely some good things with this team. He's got a lot of things that resist a lot of things. That's great, right? But he does have some role issues. He's going to have problems getting his matchups because of the lack of U-turn and volt switch. That's going to be a struggle for him. Another big problem that I see, since he doesn't have, like, Raikou's going to come in. If he is going to volt switch, a ground type's going to come in, and then that means Raikou has to hard switch into something, and if Altaria and Weezing are weakened or not attending that week, it's going to be hard. Raikou's going to be a momentum sink for him. Could be a challenge. Definitely could be a challenge. Moving on, we've got Jabron in the New England Pat Rats. So, just from a quick cursory glance, not looking too terrible. Quite a bit of green down here. We got another one of those red AO 18s, but we kind of addressed that it's not a big deal, but this isn't one of the guys with the offensive rock type on his team. So he has to face 3. The other guys that I've gone over so far only have to face 2 of those offensive rock type Pokemon. So a little bit of a bigger issue for Jabron. The other one he's got is fighting, which I do see as an issue. Also considering that, hold on. Oh, one of his weaknesses though is to low and Vulpix, not really going to come up that often. Incineroar is an Intimidator, so it might be able to take it on. And then Landorus T is a pretty solid fighting switch. So this one doesn't worry me as much. Stat-wise, speed tier's looking pretty good. Big jump from 91 down to 75. Not a huge fan of that. That could be exploitable. There's a lot of stuff in like the high 80s that won't mind being able to run like Adamant or Jolly or Adamant or Modest instead of Jolly or Timid. I think that's something to look out for. Offensively, looks like these averages look pretty good. You got Inteleon, Raging Bolt, Typhlosion, which that 109 I think is kind of an undersell, honestly. Ogerpon, yeah. I sorry, just my brain shut down. I couldn't keep reading, but you can see the Pokemon I clicked on. Incineroar, Serena, Landorus, and Ogerpon W have very good attack stats. So looking good from that standpoint. Take a look at the rolls. Not a ton of hazard setters, but definite reliable ones. And you have reliable hazard clears. Defog is an easy move to fit onto Corviknight. Rapid Spin, I think Serena's a very good Rapid Spinner. No Toxic Setters, but I feel better about it because look at all, like, one of the reasons you run Toxic is if you're running Stall. This team's not a Stall team by any means. The other reason you do it is to kind of face off against Stall teams. Between all this knockoff and taunt stuff, I'm less concerned about having to wear down Pokemon like that. U-turn, million U-turners, couple good flip turner, Volt Switcher, really strong. Baton Pass, not gonna come up super often. Parting Shotter, yep. Great pivoting, really strong pivoting here. I already mentioned knockoff and taunt. That's going to help take care of any sort of slow, bulky teams that want to take him on. Got 5 Pokemon that if you need to run dual screens, you can. Plus, you have a Pokemon that passes really big wishes. That's something that is like Farigiraf has a very big HP stat. It's going to pass very big wishes if you can get it off. So that's good. The other thing that's nice about Farigiraf is I think the passing wishes plus the future sights that it can kind of fire off with a pretty decent special attack stat, it makes it harder to position yourself to block wishes. So I think that'll be pretty good for him. Priority wise, if he clicks a priority move other than Fake Out this season, I'll be pretty surprised. I'm surprised at how much priority Inteleon gets and how little of it wants or needs. So that's what I'll say about that. Overall, looks like a really solid team. I definitely think that, I don't know, this is the first one that I've seen where I don't really have any big notes. I think, like, just looking at it, just let's see how it passes the eyeball test. Some of the things I like the Alolan Vulpix being on there, because it's going to be able to set up Snow that is going to be able to potentially help Raging Bolt with Weather Ball Ice, giving it really good coverage. So that's pretty neat. I think the key to this team is just going to try to get up hazards and pivot around and get the matchups it needs and wear teams down. Like, real basic, like, this is a real meat and potatoes team, right? It's got good resist, it's got good pivoting, it's just all about getting your matchups in. I think Jabron will do pretty well with this down here. He didn't take any big swings on, like, team design, right? But it's just very fundamentally sound. Next, we've got the Pittsburgh Piplups. Okay, job 1, let's take a look at speed tiers. Nothing egregious here, okay? Top end being 110, slightly slow, but also that's kind of the norm nowadays. What the fuck is this Sinnoh music? I hate this. Let's put something else on. Just gonna start back from the beginning. Viking Cruises, yeah, great. Okay. Fire. A little bit fire weak, but not terrible. Ground. A little bit ground weak. It could be a problem, because Dodrio's not going to be in every week edition. Heracross, while it resists and everything, not something you want taking too many earthquakes. So I'm gonna say ground could be a bit of a problem. Flying. How bad is the flying problem? It could be bad. These Pokemon that are in red are Pokemon that are going to be coming a lot of weeks. Klefki and Electivire, neither of them really want to take repeated hits, and they also aren't Pokemon that are becoming every week. So a bit of an issue on Keenan's team that he's got to figure out how to deal with, but also I don't think the end of the world. Not looking too bad on rock types, so we kind of talked about that. Looking real strong against dark types, only got the one weakness in Frostlass. It's just kind of interesting thing. Okay, let's look at rolls. Lots of options for hazard setters. One rapid spinner and a tidy up user. So a little bit limited, but not bad by any means. I think that's solid setup he's got there. I'd like to see another clearer, whether it's another rapid spinner or a defogger, but I'm not gonna. It's not bad by any means. Couple of Toxic Users, good. T-Wave. This one on Klefki is actually really big just since it's Prankster. A couple of Will-O-Whispers. Good. Good pivoting options. These guys are kind of lower tier. Electivire and Ferret are kind of lower tier, so they're probably not going to be coming as often. Teleport probably won't come into play with Gardevoir because you don't want it taking too many hits. The abundance of knockoff users. That's actually super crazy how many he's got. I'm curious to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 of them. What's that leave out? It leaves out Klefki and Frostlash. So the only Pokemon on his team that don't have access to knockoff. That's pretty funny. Taunt, a ton of Taunters. Wish, not gonna happen super often, but you know, he's got it. Quick Attack. There's actually 2 stab Quick Attackers here, so I'll actually bother addressing them. Aqua Jet, which will probably come into play. Ice Shard, not a terrible Ice Sharder. Not great, but not terrible. Mach Punch, unless you're running the Belly Drum set, irrelevant. Vacuum Waivers, shocked if they come into play. Shadow Sneak, no. Sucker Punch, probably not. Then Prankster's here. Has that been on all of them, or is that like a little special edition here? Oh, it has been on all of them. Oh, whoops. I accidentally grabbed this and moving it. That's no good. Yeah. So, I did ask Brett to do that. I think that's a good thing to have here. Okay. This section's solid. This section's phenomenal. This is pretty good. Workable, but not perfect. Stat-wise, looking really solid. And type-wise, I worry about these two guys. The ground and flying are definitely exploitable. Going to be a little bit harder to play through. Looking at a macro view here, curious what you're going to do with Dunsparce. Weirdly, I think Dunsparce is going to be kind of an important part of this team because it's one of your bulkier Pokemon, and it's one of your only real, like, potential setup special Pokemon. Like, you can definitely run Calm Mind on Gardevoir, but interestingly, like, Dunsparce could be a good, like, because it gets Calm Mind Roost, Boomburst, Earth Power / Shadow Ball. Like, that's a set you can run on it and it'll do just fine. So could be interested to see how that ends up shaking out. I do think maybe just from a like offensive like a threat level on these mons, a little bit low. But seems like a overall pretty sound team. I think I kind of expect Keenan to be in playoff contention here in the South. Next, we're going to go to a pretty controversial team. Don't know why everyone's so up in arms. Let's take a look and see if we can find out. Okay, speed tier wise. Big drop from 80 to 66, but we don't really care about like gaps under 80 because most of the things that are in the 70 range aren't really trying to... Like, they're either trying to outspeed stuff that's not running any speed, or they're not bothering running any speed because they can't catch stuff above them. At least in my opinion. So, no concerning gaps here. At least not that I think. Got good special attackers. Hard to get good special attackers a lot of the time. Got pretty good physical attackers. Simeon, Scizor, Tornai. Oh, come on. Tornai is also your best special attacker, so that's a problem. Oh, Rhenoclus. I missed Rhenoclus's big old 125 special attack down here. So, not looking too bad from that standpoint. Bulk looks fine, if not a little lacking on the special side, but, you know, that's not a huge deal. Got 2 ground types. Both of them get Stealth Rocks and Spikes. Toxic Spiker. Defog Rapid Spin. A little bit lacking there, because I don't think Sandslash's Pokemon you're going to want to bring a lot of weeks. And then Defog is not a move that you want to have Scizor run. Could be a problem. Thunderwave for speed control. Will-O-Wisp. Mimikyu's never going to have either of these moves, so you can kind of ignore it. Marine is going to be able to take a hit here and there. It's gonna do especially well versus whose team was it? Against Tyler's team, who can't actually knock it off. So something to look out for there. All these Pokemon can pretty reliably run U-turn. That's great. This is gonna have Volt Switch on it a lot. Baton Pass on these guys, mostly irrelevant, and Parting Shot. So solid pivoting. That's great. Quite a variety of knockoff users. Strong. Dual screens, I don't... Okay, no Wish support on a team like this I do think can be kind of challenging. Because reliable recovery, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Pokemon that get it. Okay, so not as bad, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's not too big of an issue. In terms of priority, this is a relevant quick attack. Bullet Punch is great. Shadow Sneak, pretty good. 2 Pranksters might come up occasionally. Who knows? Like, I think we're gonna see a lot more Prankster out of the Torn Eye, just with like Prankster Tailwind or something like that. But that can also be done by Murkrow, and I do think Murkrow has some other nice utility benefits. So. Okay, so this is the part that concerns me. There's quite a few red squares here, and they look like they're in important spots. So water. 2 resists in Shaman and Marini, and 3 weaknesses. Sandslash, Skeledirge, and Sandy Shocks. Pokemon, well, Sandslash and Sandy Shocks together, you're probably not running both of them a lot of weeks, so I don't think it's as bad as it looks. Shaman's a very reliable water type switch in. Because if a water type, because if you're switching out a water move, it'll probably have an ice move as coverage, but most of those water type Pokemon that are using Scald or Liquidation or Surf, whatever. If they have a move to hit grass types, it's Ice Beam, so it's not typically Stab. So I don't think it's super scary for Shaman. They can kind of deal with those hits and threaten out other water types. So this doesn't, the water type doesn't concern me too much. Electric concerns me a lot more. If Shaman be the only resist, then you do have 2 ground types, but like I said, probably only bringing 1 a lot of the time. So you have a electric weakness in Marini, who's gonna come, I don't think, probably decently much. Squawkabilly, I don't know, may or may not. Or Honchkrow may or may not. You know what? As I'm breaking this down, not as bad. Like, there's a lot of flying types on this team. You got 3 flying types. Probably only bringing 1 or 2. I still think it could be something that he's going to struggle with at some point in the season, but I don't know. Could be worse. Because also, Ice now is making me realize it's the same thing. He's got 3 flying types, and he's not going to bring them most weeks. So I don't think that is a huge issue. Yeah. But also, you still have a lot of other ice weaknesses. Well, let's take a look at Ice Mons, because this is another one of those types that I think maybe gets stressed on a little bit too much. Ice Q. Here's the thing. Either Ice Q is a problem or it's not. It's not like you need Pokemon that are going to be able to resist an ice move, because Ice Q is going to kill them whether or not they resist. If it matters, Ice Q is going to kill them anyways, right? Regice. Yeah. It's going to be firing off ice moves. Might be difficult to deal with. No ice here. Not super relevant ice here. It's either non-stab and circumstantial, so moving on past it. No ice here. No ice here. And no ice here. Okay, so not a huge deal. Flying. Wow, only 1 flying resist, and it's Sandy Shocks. That's kind of surprising. Could be an issue. I'm not going to bother counting flying types until at least another weakness comes up. This team definitely has some type-wise, some defensive holes. I think it has enough offense where he needs it. It's got good pivoting, and it's just, I think the most important thing. Sorry about the yawn. I'm not going to edit that out. I think the most important thing for a player like Logan are these are Pokemon he wants to use. I I don't think this team might not be in playoff contention. It's going to solely depend on how much time Logan feels he wants to put into Pokemon. But I think it's got a better chance since these are Pokemon that Logan is interested in using. So he might be more likely to put time in, which will probably benefit him, right? I think that's what it comes down to. Okay, home stretch here. 3 more teams. Actually, I'm going to pause this for a second and go get a drink. Another thing that I need to remember to mention about Logan is he made a counter bet to Zane, who has to get the KO with Bonsly. If Zane does manage to get a KO with Bonsly, then Logan has to eat a bonsai tree. Just another fun thing to watch out for this season. But I think that wraps that up. Let's move on to Papcoon. So, job 1, let's take a look at these stats. Looking pretty solid offensively. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Pokemon at 100 or more. Average of 90, quite good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Pokemon 100 or more here. Offensively, pretty solid. Speed-wise, a little top end here. Like good. Again, no big gaps that I think you need to worry about. That's great. Yeah, and it's pretty fast. Like, Arbolive and Spite Offs being your slowest things, and you having access to sticky webs, I think puts Papcoon in a really good speed control position with this team. I like that. Defensively, not even looking bad, but we'll dive into that a little bit more later. Hazard setters, I actually think we're probably going to see Spite Ups come to a decent amount of games with, I don't know, maybe I'm overhyping it just because it shows up 3 times here. Really reliable Rapid Spinner, pretty reliable Defogger, really good Stealth Rocker, probably not going to Stealth Rock a lot out of Flygon. So I do think we're probably not going to see hazards up in too many Texarkana Toxic games. Something to consider. You got Pheasantipity, firing off Toxics, that's good. Thunder Wave. I didn't know Ambipom got Thunder Wave, but it's never going to click it. And then Will-O-Wisp on Charizard. So that's not going to come up. If you're afraid of something getting Will-O-Wisp on this team, that's fucking wild. Because A, it's only on Charizard, and B, you should be much more worried about getting static parried by Zapdos. Zapdos quickly becoming one of my least favorite mons to watch. It's, I believe Zapdos is probably... I feel about Zapdos the way... Oh, man. Sorry, Logan. You're going to have to hear this again. I feel about Zapdos the way I think a lot of people felt about John Fitch in the UFC in the late 2000s, where it's just like, yeah, I get that he's good. It's just not fun to watch. Sorry, that's a reference I make far too often, but I really feel it about Zapdos. Zapdos is very good defensively, but it's so unfun to watch because I just get sick of watching paralysis battles. Moving on past my own biases. Fantastic switch initiative. Almost everything on this team has some sort of switch initiative. That's very good. Knockoff support, taunt, no wishers, but those seem to be coming at a premium. You do have a dual screener if you insist upon running them. Relevant, okay, here's some relevant priority, normal type priority, and fake out, that's good. Aqua Jet, relevant. Shadow Sneak, relevant. Sucker Punch, always kind of relevant, like, because it's just decently strong and a lot of shit gets it, and it's a decent type. So, pretty good priority. I know it kind of ran through this, but it's just like, solid basics here. Like I said, I think he's probably not seen a lot of games with hazards just because he's got such reliable clearer, and he's probably also not putting up a bunch of hazards. Could be exploited against the right team, just since he doesn't have like a multitude of hazard clearing options. But I overall think this is manageable. So I would say, based on this area down here, this is the only weak point. Stat-wise, solid. Let's take a look at the types. A little bit heavy on fire weaknesses, but I also don't think those are super common in the league. You know what? It's come up enough. Let's go back to the big board and we'll do a count on fire type. Okay? Let's zoom out so you can actually see the whole field here. Oh, Gouging Fire. Ooh, wow, that was quick. Blaziken. Ooh. Skeledirge, not super offensive. Typhlosion, oof. Magmortar, oof. Taurus Blaze, oof. Rotom, ugh. And then no fire types here. So, okay. Relevant. That's a relevant weakness. I do think probably okay with Flygon, Charizard, Hisuian, Samurott. Those are things that are going to be kind of present on a lot of these teams, and they do threaten the opposing fire type. So that's not bad. Ice weakness. You know what? I've had this one brought up a lot. Let's go back to the big board. Take a look. Ice Q, Regice. But didn't I just do this? I just did this. Okay, not a ton of ice types. That's good news, right? That's good news for all those folks out there. So less of a problem. Flying. We've had a lot of flying ones pop up too. Okay, I should check this one since this is becoming like a trend. Okay, assuming Braviary, that's a flying type. No offensive flying type Pokemon here. Not really, Altaria. Sorry, you get a participation trophy though. No offensive flying types. Landorus is offensive and a flying type, but it's not clicking a flying type move. Logan, this is where you thrive with Squawkabilly and Tornadus Eye. So be scared of Logan's team, I guess, which is crazy to think about. Talonflame and Rufflet. Ooh, I didn't notice the Rufflet pick. I like that one. Not that it's good, but it's fun, right? Okay, so I think there's enough offensive flying type Pokemon here to identify that as something that could be a problem. I don't, like, could be. It really depends on how Papcoon builds a team and plays. But, actually against this team being Zapdos, go ahead and Brave Bird to your heart's content. Zapdos is eating them up. Overall, pretty good team. I think Papcoon's going to be in pretty good contention here if he can kind of. I think if he can make sure he doesn't get hazards stacked too much on him, that's going to be the key. If people can hazard stack against Papcoon with this squad of U-turners, could be an issue. Yeah, but I don't think it's looking too bad at all. Moving on, we got Mitch of the Michigan Mudseals, I believe, making his return. I don't think he was. Oh no, he played last season. It was Zane who's making his return after he fell from the north. And I think Connor is making his return, but we'll talk about his team in a little bit. Michigan Mudseals, how's these speed tiers looking? Yeah, I recognize there's an enormous speed gap from Regieleki down to Talonflame, but not too many Pokemon occupy that, so not a big issue, right? Okay, big gap here from Jirachi down to Blaziken. Now keep in mind, Blaziken does not get speed boost, so this is a true 100 base speed. That's an exploitable window there. Basically anything in the, like, I guess it's not too big of an exploitable window now that I'm looking at it, because, like, Pokemon in the 90 to 95 range, or 95 to 99 range, are the things that are going to be exploiting that window, and I don't think too many Pokemon lie in there. But definitely something to look out for, because it is a window that people are going to potentially try to utilize, right? So something to keep an eye out for there. Okay, so something else I'm noticing with these low tier Pokemon, because usually once you get below this 80 mark, you're looking at Pokemon that aren't running a lot of speed. Rufflet is a weird exception, but it's not relevant to the point I'm making now. All these Pokemon that are in this range, those happen to be your defensive Pokemon, except Azu's not running defensive, so that means these are actually your defensive Pokemon. Maybe you could make like a fun exception and include Jirachi and Talonflame. But that being said, these are the guys who I think are being defensive most weeks, and it's Clefairy, Dusclops, and Clodsire. I think this team's rife for being knocked off. Obviously, there's a chance that Talonflame's going to come in and flame body you, but I think you'll take that trade a lot of the time, getting rid of the heavy-duty boots. Jirachi, it's going to take a lot of damage. You're getting rid of heavy lights here. Clodsayer, you do want to get, like, it doesn't take physical hits super well, and you want to get rid of its item. So far, what I'm seeing is this team suffers more from being knocked off than I think any other team in the league, and that could be a problem. It's got Ice and Ghost weaknesses. I think we kind of addressed those. I don't think they're big issues in the league. Sorry to gloss over the typing. I know that's everyone's favorite part. I actually don't know if that's true. It feels a little tedious. Okay, let's look here. Good hazard setters. Hazards are going to be up with this team. Rapid Spinner and realistically one defogger, because if Rufflet gets off a defog this year, I'll have some of Logan's bonsai tree if Rufflet gets off a successful defog this season. Jeez, I just don't see that happening. I don't see it as something that is going to be real beneficial to the team. If he actually clears hazards with a defog from Rufflet, it'll just be to say that he did. It won't be anything beneficial for the team. Got a Toxic Mon, it's always good. Plenty of speed control there, which is going to be important, I think, for this team. Will-O-Wisp, realistically, you're clicking Will-O-Wisp with these two Pokemon if Blaziken's not running Will-O-Wisp. I would say good pivoting if Rufflet wasn't part of it. And also, I don't think... no, you might run U-turn on Blaziken in this meta. Probably not bad. Flip turn, yeah, good pivoting. I like the pivoting options. Like, it's cool to see so many of them available, because back in the day, I really feel like it was almost a like novelty to have a Volt Switch or U-turns kind of team, and now just everyone's got it, and they're on Pokemon that they can use them a lot with. I'd say 3 decent knockoff users. Clefairy's not bad by any means, but it's just not something you're going to be looking to most weeks. The Pokemon that get Taunt are the ones that need it. You got 2 Wish Passers. Again, not that Clefairy's going to be doing it a whole bunch, but it's another option. Extreme Speed is somewhat relevant, even though it is just on Regieleki, who isn't great. These Quick Attack Pokemon, not super relevant. Aqua Jet, relevant. Vacuum Wave, relevant. Shadow Sneak, no. Sucker Punch, yes. Actually, I shouldn't say Shadow Sneak's not irrelevant, because I feel like we saw Mitch maybe get a KO with it a couple seasons ago. He was running, or maybe it wasn't that, but he was running an offensive Dusclops, so who's to say? I think this section's a little bit weak. This is good. This is good. This isn't bad. Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. This is good. This stuff's solid. All this honestly, pretty solid team. It's gonna come down to Latios and Meowscarada usage. I think these guys, like, he needs to make those Pokemon shine. Otherwise, he is going to have to fall back on some of these Pokemon that aren't so good, like Rufflet and Dusclops. And Clodsire good defensively, but it can't carry the whole team as the only defensive mon. So, needs to make Meowscarada and Latios a big deal, and also pick the right defensive Pokemon of the week. Like, if you need to run Talonflame and Clodsire a lot of the weeks, which I think you might have to, pick the right guys to supplement with them on those weeks. Because, like, Dusclops and Clefairy are going to have to make appearances, and you're going to have to make them count. So I don't think you can put, if you want to win games, you can't put the option, like, you can't put the decision of which one of these to take. You can't take that too lightly. Oh, okay, last one. Big finish here. We got Connor. This is a returning player, so excited to see him come back. Ooh, seeing problems. You guys seeing him too? Let's talk about it. So, speed gaps, nothing terrible. That's not the problem I'm seeing. Stat-wise, looking... Okay, so obviously we have this 145 on Vikavolt, and we have the 125 on Thunderous Eye, and then we have nothing else above 85. I think the fact that both of your special attackers are electric types with a lot of overlapping coverage, I think could be a big drawback. They're going to get checked by a lot of, like, probably one Pokemon is going to be able to check both of these Pokemon, and it's your only special attacker. That's not great. As far as physical attackers go, geez, he's stacked. He's got Rillaboom, Gouging Fire, King Gambit. I mean, what more can you ask for? Hisuian Sneasel's here, which I actually think is pretty underrated. I think it's going to be solid. Yeah. Oh, and you know what? I said he had nothing else above 85. I lied. I missed Oricorio G at 98. So very setup dependent, but it's there. We're gonna get to this one. Has quite a few. I guess we can discount some of these. Fire's relevant, right? But honestly, I think he wants fire types to come in because it gives Gouging Fire setup opportunities. Ice, we talked about it. Not a ton of ice type Pokemon, so not a huge deal. Flying, exploitable. Suzu Resist, King Gambit, and Thundy Eye. Yeah, you know, it is what it is. Lots of rock type weaknesses on this team, and that's actually a bigger problem that we're going to talk about here in a second. And it's not because of the offensive stuff, right? We'll see here. Ghost. Okay, did we do Ghost? Did we check and see how many Ghosts there are? Not on his team because he's not going against it. Dusclops not going to come into play very often. Nothing here. Nothing here. Frostlass, not super offensive, but you know, it's got strong moves. Goldengo, problem. Like Tyler's gonna be feasting against Connor with Goldengo. There's a Ghost here, could be an issue for him, and none of these are Ghosts, right? Yeah, no Ghosts. Okay, so less of a big issue, but let's take a look at the things that are issues here, right? Stealth Rockers. You know what? You got reliable Stealth Rockers. That's great. You even got a Toxic Spiker and a Sticky Web. That's great. Only clearing is Defog and it's Oricorio. That I think is a problem, right? We already talked about a team that only had a Defogger as their only support, and Oricorio is not a Pokemon you want to bring every week, and it's also not a Pokemon that has a ton of extra move slots, right? I think that'll be a challenge. I think this team, and how many grounded Pokemon does he have? He's got 1 Levitator. 2, 3, 4. Okay, so 4 Pokemon off the ground. But also 3 of them I don't think are Pokemon that are going to come most weeks. I think we're going to see a lot of King Gambit, Thundurus, Gouging Fire, Rillaboom. And then we're going to see a lot of Screamtail. And that only leaves 1 spot open. So, yeah, I don't know. Could be a problem. I think it's going to be a problem. This is a team I think it might struggle a bit. So, let that be known. But I think that's where I'm going to leave off. Oh, I guess I can check the schedule, which is up to date. Thank you very much, Brett. So we got Zeng versus Jabron early on. Any things we want to take from there? You know what? This could actually be a decent week for Terapagos because there's no fighting type here. So that's solid. I don't remember the notes I gave on any of these Pokemon. So I think so. Corviknight being here is super bad news for the low kicks. And also I'm realizing like I think Zeng needs something to clear shit for low kicks, like an electric type or a fire type. Wow, he didn't support low kicks very much at all. Like Zebstrika is his low kick support, and that's not very good. How's Sneasler looking against this team? Not bad, not bad. Should be. I think that'll be an interesting matchup. What else we got? We got Connor versus Papkin. Didn't I? Oh no, I didn't just mention this. But they're right next to each other on the... Here, let me switch this to the way you can see it. We got Connor versus Papcoon. Gouging Fire versus Great Tusk. You know, I think that... And then, oh, we talked about a hazard clearing problem. And Hisuian Samurott is an issue for Connor because of his hazard clearing options. Every time Oricorio comes in, Hisuian Samurott's going to also want to come in. As soon as those spikes get away, soon Samurott's going to get him right back up because Oricorio has to leave. I like Papcoon in that matchup. I think his team's built in a good way for it. Mitch versus Keenan. It's got Mitch versus Keenan. I don't remember what I said Keenan's struggles were going to be. I should have made notes. Oh, that's not Keenan's team. This is... No, wait, where's Keenan's team? Right here. What was the issue? I don't remember what the issue was, because most of this looks like not a huge problem. Oh, flying. But Mitch, does he have a flying type? He's got... Oh, he's got Talonflame. Oh, and Rufflet. Rufflet go off. Let's see that. My dog's barking. I gotta wrap this up quick. Schedule. This last one, Logan versus Zane. You know what? I don't want to talk about that because I've heard a little bit of Logan's prep and I don't want to accidentally give anything away. So not going to dive in on it. But I want to thank you everyone for listening to this. This is probably going to be my only coverage of the draft until kind of much later in the season. So I want to give you as big of an episode as I could. And man, I went well over an hour of just yammering about Pokemon. So thank you again, everyone, for listening. And I'll see you at the end of the season. Goodbye.